Hi, kia ora, and welcome to Creative Connections, where we have beautiful, inspiring conversations with artists living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm your host, Mandy Yarkich. Katie Blundell is a contemporary New Zealand artist living and working from her studio in Clevedon, which is southeast of Auckland. Focusing on the human experience, her work is both personal and universal. Katie approaches her practice through different media depending on what ideas she is wanting to express, primarily focusing on printmaking, painting, drawing, photography, and sculpture. In this episode, we talk about her beautiful gallery studio space in Clevedon, where she teaches, creates, mentors, and exhibits her work, and how she manages the space and the variety of work she does. We talk about her experience studying at Elam Art School in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, from the age of 18. We also talk about her unique technique of combining woodcut printmaking and painting to create what she calls relief paintings, and how this developed. We talk about the Women at Work portraiture exhibition she is working towards, showcasing several Aotearoa artists Katie admires, including Jacqueline Fahey and Judy Millar, which she is finding slightly terrifying but deeply gratifying. We discuss her In My Opinion videos on Instagram, where she expresses her ideas, opinions, and vulnerabilities, and how she manages all the things she does in a week while still prioritising her art practice. Her Women at Work exhibition starts October the 17th, 2025, opening night from 5 p.m, and then the exhibition runs October 18th and 19th from 10 till 4 at Katie's Gallery and Studio, which is 331 North Road in Clevedon. Ngā mihi nui, thank you to Katie Blundell for sharing her story with us, and thank you for listening. Kia ora, Katie.
Hi there, how's it going?
It's good, thank you. Lovely to see you in your amazing studio.
Thanks for the invite. This is very exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So welcome to Creative Connections.
Thank you.
Now, you are in your studio, your sort of gallery studio, which is in Clevedon, and that's kind of southeast of Auckland, Tamaki Makaurau.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us, I know you have a big history in Clevedon, can you tell us about the area and what you love about it?
Yeah, sure. I'm Clevedon proud. I love the place. I was born here actually in Clevedon. I started off here on this farm. This is a family farm, and I've been in the family for apparently nearly 100 years or something like that. And it's had many different lives, but this building that we're in here now was built as an orchard shop and to sell the fruit. And when I was a little kid, I was sort of like in the apple bin, just hanging out, eating some fruit. And then when I got older, I was able to start selling the fruit and counting the money and all that sort of stuff. It was great.
How amazing. Isn't that It's so beautiful that you're making in a place that you grew up in?
Yeah, it feels pretty neat. And, selling fruit, selling art, it's the same thing, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Clevedon is quite an arty area. There's a few art galleries there, and then also the sculpture parks that your dad has established. So we'll get onto that later, no doubt. But it must be a great place for kind of people going through, maybe expecting an arty experience, do you find?
Oh, yeah. Never go to meetings, when I came here about 10 years ago, I went to a council meeting and they wanted somebody to set up a art trail, in the Franklin area. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But maybe we could set one up in the Clevedon area. And so myself and Cheryl from Art Industry and Maureen Conqueror set up the Clevedon Art Trail. And it's been wonderful. I think it's a wonderful thing. The artists of Clevedon open their studios once a year. And it's fantastic. And it brings a lot of people in to Clevedon. And now over the years, it's made Clevedon a place that's known for creativity, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it really is. It does have that sort of feel about it, which is a
Yeah.
great
And
thing.
now the Clevedon Business Association has taken it on and running with it. So it's really exciting to think that hopefully it'll be a project that can keep going. So, it's a really good one.
Yeah, it's so good. So are you it feels like you have had a life of creativity. What were you like as a child and amongst selling fruit?
I don't know. Apparently, some people say, apparently I was shy. I can't believe that. I can't believe that I was shy, but apparently I was shy as a little kid. And I think I had an ideal childhood. We make huts and play on the farm, and I have two other sisters, and we had a lot of fun. And I rode horses, and it was just wonderful, really. And back here, we did spend a lot of time around the orchard because that's what our life revolved around. And I was thinking one of my first sort of like important art things was my auntie went to Elam. And so Auntie Susan would teach me how to do arty things like in the shop, like learn to make the fruits, the signs, to sell the fruit, like Billington $3. But you got to make that nice and even, that sort of thing. So there was always art right from the start.
Mm, that's so
Mm.
good. And how cool that you were doing that in relation to the shop and the orchard when you were a child, and now you're working in the same space as an artist.
Yeah, it's a pretty much a dream come true, really. I think I imagined it, but it's such a beautiful building. It's really a landmark. So I had to sort of work my way up.
Yeah, how great. And so for people who don't know about your studio space, you are working in the gallery in the orchard shed, and that's
Yeah.
become your sort of teaching space, your studio
Hmm.
space, your
Hmm.
exhibiting space, and
Hmm.
you also do some mentoring through this space as well. So, I mean, I just look at your studio and I think, oh my God, that is a dream come true for all of us.
Yeah, yeah. It's really beautiful, actually. Apart from in winter, it's really cold. So I'm pleased it's spring because there's actual holes in the wall. You probably can see them, but it's very good looking.
Yeah. It's just so, I mean, and it's so sort of authentically Aotearoa as well. It's just got a
Yeah.
lovely vibe and you've done a fantastic job with it. It looks so good.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I got the idea for a gallery studio when I was going through Melbourne as traveling when I was about 20 something. And I went to a gallery, and then this guy said, "Oh, would you like to see my studio, which is just here as well?" And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's so cool." And I was talking to him about his work, and I thought this is such an authentic experience to be able to talk to the artist and see his artwork. And then for him, it's no waste of time because when he's not chatting to people, he's making his artwork.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought a really cool idea.
It's such a cool idea. And it's actually surprising how few artists do that. But
Yeah.
I think it would be my dream scenario, just to have work in a space that people come to, and yeah, I love it. It's very cool.
It's good. I mean, I'm pleased that I don't open it like the fruit shop, which is open. Well, used to be open sort of 9 to 5 or whatever. And I'm open by appointment, which works because you've got to do your life and do all the other things you've got to do as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's again, it looks glamorous, but it's also a bit of hard work too.
Oh, absolutely, I'm sure. And just, we'll kind of get back to your backstory, but just out of curiosity, um how do you find opening it up by appointment only? Do people actually make the effort to sort of figure that out? Or do you
Yes,
feel
they're
like you
desperate
lose?
my
Sorry.
work, they will, and that's cool. And then I have found that event-based things work really well for me. Rather than having exhibitions that are open for long periods of time, I just do events that open for a very short amount of time, and that seems to work well for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then people can come along and come along to the event that you've kind
Yeah,
of put aside
that's
time for. Yeah.
that's right. So they don't feel like, because some people, like you say, don't want to make an appointment. That takes, a bit of
Mm.
effort or a bit of confidence or something.
Yeah, I
So
feel like making an appointment would be like maybe people might feel pressured that they have to buy something because they've kind of booked you to,
yeah,
there's that
yeah,
side of it as well.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people feel that and then others really don't,
Yeah.
so you just have to have a variety of things, but definitely not being open the whole time is good, because obviously I'm teaching a lot in here as well. And it's funny, cars bring more cars. When I've got a car park full, then more and more people will come in just to see if they can look in. It's like my grandma used to say that in the shop. She used to say, we'll park cars out the front so more people will come in. And I didn't understand it as a kid, but it actually works.
Yeah. That's so true. That's great. Okay, so you did go to Elam after high school,
Mm.
and you were, as we were talking before recording, you were a young student in Elam. So can you tell us a little bit about your time with art in high school and how you got to Elam?
Okay, so I went to Diocesan School for Girls in Auckland, and I had a fantastic art teachers. Shelley Ride was one of the main ones, and she taught me so much. Still to this day, I really think she probably taught me how to paint and everything else, technically especially. And then I had Mary Guyan, who taught me art history, and I'd never travelled, so I sort of was travelling through the books that she was showing me, and that was really awesome. I was very excited about the idea of traveling. So they really helped me and supported me. And I love photography as well. And printmaking. I just loved the whole thing. So basically, I spent the whole of high school in the art department, and it was the only thing I was really good at, because I was a country kid. I mean, I'd never done music or French or anything like this, so I was pretty hopeless at that. And not maybe naughty, but I did get the giggles and get sent out of class quite a lot. So but I was really happy when I was in the art department.
Yeah, that sounds so good. And Shelley Ride, I mean, I do actually have her contact to get in touch with her and have her on the podcast, because a lot
Yes,
of
you
a lot of
should.
yeah, a lot of guests have been taught by her, and she's a bit of a legend,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
she's yeah. And I later went back and worked for her as when I was a teacher, because I still had more to learn from her. She's really amazingly knowledgeable. Yeah,
Mm, how
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I'd love to meet her. So, how did you get to make the decision to study art at Elam?
Oh, I don't even really. I think it was just an okay thing for me to do, because my auntie had already gone there and my family was really into creativity. It was always really supported, which is sort of strange. But I just loved art, and that was the obvious next thing to do. Um, I just love making art. So, that's where you go. If you love making art, you go to art school. So Shelley and everyone helped me, do the application and everything, and it was straightforward. I went straight from high school to Elam.
And we
Yeah,
have talked about, people heading back when they're a bit older, and then sort of versus heading there when they're really quite young. So
yeah.
how did you find it as a sort of 18-year-old?
Oh, it was very daunting. I couldn't understand anything, not even the posters in the street. Because we didn't really go to the city, so it was really full on. It was a bit of a shock. Um, and then you're meeting all these people, and yeah, it was really full on, but it was serious fun, serious fun. And so what did I learn at art school? Well, I definitely had just space to grow up and learn about myself, I think. And I made a lot of artwork. I was very prolific. And I joined the printmaking department because I loved printmaking when I was at Dio, and I loved the idea of learning new skills and techniques and things like that. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. I felt like painting, I could do that a little. I could, but the printing was something I didn't really understand. And I could see that you could do lithography and all those sorts of amazing things. So I thought that was quite enchanting.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
great that they've got all the tools and the things that you
yeah,
need to make
yeah,
printmaking.
yeah.
Yeah. So how did you go at Elam? How did you find it, and did it help you to kind of develop as an artist and sort of, start the career?
Yeah, interesting. Yes. I am very competitive, and I think I did pretty well. I worked very hard, but you can always work harder, probably party pretty hard too, but we had a lot of fun. Um, Yeah. But then saying that, there's lots of things I didn't learn. Maybe at that time, the idea of selling work was sort of semi frowned upon. You know what I mean? It was like, and so at that stage, you didn't learn about business and those sorts of things, which in retrospect, I think would have been really cool because that's something that comes pretty naturally to me. And I think it would have maybe helped me figure out a bit more quickly how I could actually make a go of being an artist myself, you know?
Yeah, as a
Uh,
career.
yeah, as a career. I mean, there were a few people that like got picked up, like, 1% that get picked up by the dealer galleries. And I wasn't one of those. People have always loved my artwork. Um, and were even buying my artwork from early on. But I'm not great at maths, but it didn't take me long to figure out that I have to sell about a painting a week to pay a mortgage, you know? So I thought, what can I do? I love art and I love people. Well, I could do some teaching, and I did it for the money.
Yeah.
And it turned out I was good at it,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, that's good. So you did an extra year and did a
Yes, that
teaching
was
diploma.
terribly painful after the wonderful fun at art school to go to teachers college. Whew,
Yeah,
it
bit of a
was
downer.
a bit of a downer, but I got through it. It was useful. You learned things, but it was quite a contrast.
Yeah, I bet. Totally. And so just back to Elam, what were that's where you, as you said, you sort of developed your printmaking practice from there. But what were
Mm.
you thinking about at that time?
Actually, at Elam, I was pretty sad for my undergrad. My mum had died early
Oh,
on
sorry.
when I was at Elam. So that was pretty hard time. But interestingly, with that kind of grief, it fueled some beautiful artwork, you know, and it's still neat to look back on that work because it was a lot of it and it was really gorgeous work. So I guess that fueled a lot of my making to start with. And then for my master's, I did portraiture. And that is interesting now because I'm going back to doing some portraiture. So it's funny how things kind of go around in circles sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely in a way that you've been able to mark that really sad time of losing your mum, and that must have been quite traumatic for you at that age.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I think probably you'll ask me, what's my work about? And I think a collector once said that having my work is like having pages of my diary. And I think it definitely is. I think that's a really cool way of talking about my work because it's personal to me, but it somehow is always related to other people. I think it's because it's about the having human experiences, and grief is one of those really powerful ones. So
Mm.
it you know yeah, I think when it speaks and connects to people.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Yeah. And it was probably a great way for you, well, a positive way for you to process your grief in some way.
Yeah, absolutely, to channel it into something positive was really good. Yeah,
Mm.
sure. Yeah, I started at Onehunga High and taught there, and then went to Dio. So, yeah, they were both fantastic. And yes, teaching art,
Mm.
and it was great. And actually, um, my old boss, Anthony Clark, who's the boss of Onehunga, he taught me. He was the first one to teach me how to do reduction woodcuts, which I was like a fish to water. And we made them while we were teaching the class. We did like two things at once, and it was great. So I made a really gorgeous, my first set of reduction woodcut prints of Aotearoa, little batches and stuff. Yeah, I made there. So that was cool. And
Mm,
I
that's great.
now that's mainly what I do. I mainly love that technique the most. And so after being at art school for 6 years, it wasn't until I met him and he taught me that it's funny that,
Yeah.
that's the one that I use the most now.
Yeah, that's the one that you really connected to. And so were you
Yeah.
actually managing in general to sort of have an art practice on the side as a teacher?
Yeah, yeah. Because I just need to make work, because it makes me feel better. I've always found time, whether it's like under a house or in a garage or anywhere. I don't care where I am. I'll make it.
Mm,
And even if I have not much time, I'll make time to make art.
yeah. And lovely
Mm.
for you, I imagine, to pass on, the really positive experience you had with Shelley and at Diocesan, and then sort
Mm.
of bring that to new students. And teaching art, I think, as an artist, would be such a joy.
Yeah. It's surprisingly fun. I always say I just do it for the money, and half of any joke is true because I mean that was the driving force for why I got into it. But I do really love doing it, and I love working with people, and it is wonderful to see to foster people's creativity and to help people think critically and come up with ideas and all this sort of thing and learn new skills. And if they can be good at one thing, then it makes other parts of their life easier and gives them confidence and all that sort of stuff. It's very empowering.
Yeah.
So people tease me that, like it's coming to my classes is like going to a shrink or something like that, because, you end up talking about loads of different things, don't you,
Yeah.
and it's just a fun environment to be around and be in.
Mm. How did you find at high school having to be a little bit prescriptive with, fitting into exams and exam timetables and
Mm.
expectations with NCEA?
As a teacher, yes, I jumped through the hoops as well,
Yeah.
because you just play the game. That's the game you're playing. But then saying that now that I, don't, I teach here in my studio. I remember one of the kids would come in and the parents would say, are they going to get a formal certificate or something like this? And I said, no, but they do get to make art, and hang out with me. I think this is it, this doesn't have to be any right answer, because art is so subjective, and as soon as you start putting all these parameters and constraints on it and say this is right and this is wrong, then it just switches off, I think, a little bit the creativity,
Yeah,
and you don't get as much risk taking, which you need to have to make things that are extraordinary.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so well said. When did you actually stop teaching full time and come to your gorgeous studio space?
About 10 years ago, but this is version 2 of my studio space. The first one here was sort of in the garage, and I, came out here and I was making myself a studio and gallery studio. And then I saw on Facebook that some parents wanted somebody to be able to teach their kids art. And I thought, I can do that. And so I just made it a little bit bigger so that I could also teach in the space. It wasn't really my plan to keep teaching. I was wanting to focus on my practice. But it's been a really great bread and butter, over the years.
Yeah, and it relates so beautifully to your practice. It's such a nice
Yeah.
combination, isn't it? And so what made
Yeah.
you decide to leave teaching and focus on your practice?
Oh, because I wanted to focus on my practice and my family, and my
Yeah,
students were like, we're not surprised at all, miss. We knew you were going to leave us to go and make art, so that was cool.
yeah,
Uh, it was just the right time to do it. And it totally was the right time to do it, when you're young and crazy enough to keep, taking risks and doing it, So I really had no idea what I was doing. But at the same time, as I was teaching, I was kind of imagining what would be my best version, what would be the best version of what I could do. And I was thinking about that gallery studio idea and working with people, and even as for students, for the students to see me working, like when I'm mentoring, for example, on I am working myself, and the people I'm working with are working alongside me. And I think that is a really neat way for them to learn as well,
yeah.
because it's very authentic. It's a real life experience. So I was thinking that, maybe I could create something like that. And it's worked very well. Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, such a fantastic model. Well done to you. So, can you just explain to us your practice in a nutshell?
I guess my work is personal to me, and for me, it's always been a bit of an outpouring, and it's always about how I process the world. It helps me understand what is going on, really. And I think about things, and I guess am visually processing, and the output is art, you know. That's sort of how it is. And because I'm always talking about things that are personal to me, and deeply personal often, and I'm very honest with the work, and my whole self goes into the work. people seem to respond to it, and the themes are quite universal, and so, people can, it's maybe relatable, I guess,
Mm.
I wouldn't say, I think I trained as a printmaker, so that would be the springboard that everything comes from. And then I start with the idea that I have, and I think about what medium would suit it best. So some people, like, you could say I'm actually a multimedia artist. It's quite wordy. But sometimes I make prints, sometimes I make paintings, sometimes I make sculpture, drawings, and when I'm teaching, like at the moment I'm teaching moving image, so, and I use a lot of photography. So, it's a lot of things. So it really has to come down to what medium would suit the idea. Probably the biggest thing that I've come across lately is, everyone wants to try and get a style, and me too. For years you look at artists and you think, wow, they've got a style, that's so cool, I wish I had a style. And I thought, man, if I ever have a style, it will be so easy, it will just come to me so easily. And I was working in the studio one day, and I came up with this idea of mixing printing and painting together in what I call relief paintings. And it is the worst idea I've ever had. It is so hard, but it's also a great idea. So what I do is I carve the whole surface of the wood first, and then seal it and paint it and roll it like I would a print. And you end up with a one-off work. But it takes twice as long as what it would take me to make a painting. But it's really exciting, the result, because when you look at it in the sunlight, it changes as the day goes, like a sculpture, because of the relief. So that's my sort of currently physically how I'm making work at the moment for this new show that I'm working towards, which I'm calling Woman at Work.
This is a really interesting way of working. And so it almost feels a little bit 3D, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think the first series from memory was the Community Minded series, which in this method that I've been developing, and I made this huge body of work. Once I have that idea, I just throw myself into it, and I didn't stop for like a year. It usually takes me a year, and I didn't even really. As soon as the work was done, I'd wrap it up and put it away, and I didn't really even have time to really look at it too much. And then when I was hanging the show and I sat down and looked at it, and the light caught on it, I thought, wow, this is really cool. I kind of hadn't realized how cool it was until
I can imagine.
I would sit with it,
I love that. You don't take any prints off.
No. The idea, the brewing of how this happened was I made a really massive print using an industrial roller. And everybody wanted I should have made more, because I think I only made 5. Well, it's hard work, so that's why I only made 5. But they sold out straight away, and everyone wanted to buy the block, that I'd used to print. And I said, no, because for me, that was what I'd used to make the work. And I couldn't really understand why they would want to buy part of the process. And then I sort of started thinking about that some more, and I thought, well, actually, not in this form, but in another form, it could be a finished work, And so that's how I got to the paint, the carving, painting, and roll like I would a print. But then it being a one-off work makes it really special, because it's not printed. It's all paint. So I'm actually doing a very uncouth thing, which is rolling paint, which a printmaker would never do. It's like that's like 101 of printmaking. Is day 1 of printmaking school. Don't use paint, use ink, So I'm using paint. Yeah.
And then you're also using brushes to sort of add the details in that.
Yeah, so I'm painting it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've kind of created sort of like a hybrid. I'm not saying this has never been done before, because I'm sure it has, but it's probably never been done before exactly like how I'm doing it, I think, which is really exciting, because that's, that is supposedly is the definition of a style, isn't it?
Yeah. And you feel like that's your style you've discovered, and that's what's going to remain.
Yeah. Well, I do feel like I thought that, like I say, it was going to be easy, but I think I'm okay with now being a bit older. You're okay with spending time on things, and trying to make something that's really exceptional. You know that it's going to take some time potentially, And it's wonderful because it's led me to make, say, the bronze relief sculptures that I've made. And so I've basically extended the idea into bronze, which is to me very exciting, and it goes really well with my prints as well, with the reduction woodcuts, so hopefully it sort of ties it together.
Yeah, I think so. It's beautiful. It's such a lovely practice. So, back to the ideas around, what you're making. So you talked about your Women at Work series,
Yeah.
and last year you had a lovely series which was
Going to Seed. I had a solo show at the Franklin Arts Centre.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Going to Seed. Yeah. So
That was about getting older,
yes,
and
yeah, I read that, and I love that you kind of went there because it's such an interesting topic that so many of us well, all of us go through at some point,
yeah,
but it's not necessarily kind of spoken about, or artists aren't necessarily responding sort of openly about it. So,
yeah.
what were you thinking with that exhibition, and can you tell us about the series?
Okay, well, I was sort of laughing at myself. I guess I do that quite often. And I was just laughing about getting older. And then I was thinking about, seasons and how they change. And Franklin, here where we are, it's a beautiful growing area. And so I was driving through all these amazing crops and watching them change as the season goes, and just like we change as people. And I was sort of seeing that connection. And so I made this series. And I was also my parents, my mother especially, but my dad as well, is a huge gardeners, and I've spent, many years blocking that out. But all of a sudden, I have felt the need to learn to grow things, and so what better way to learn about that but to talk to people and to research and to paint about it. So it was a personal thing that I was learning about. And I've made some gardening friends now, and I've learnt some stuff. I've planted an edible garden, all year round edible garden, which is so exciting. And so it's the final thing is much more than painting. It's about learning, along the way.
Mm, I love that. And what were the paintings?
The paintings was using again this relief painting thing that I've developed. It's a really big. The Steel Gallery is huge space, so it was an enormous amount of work for me to make enough work for that show, but I did. And so yeah, you can have a look on my website. There, if you just look at the work section, you can find the Going to Seed and all the series I've done. I always work in a series because it's not enough for me just to make one work. It takes me a while to figure something out, maybe, or
Mm,
so I make
yeah.
more than one work. Even when I'm working on works, like at the moment, I've got two there and two there, and I work on them as a body, and they talk to each other.
And when you're thinking about that body of work, do you have the exhibition or the event in mind from the beginning?
Oh, yes. I mean, I do have a plan. And then I also know that I'm going to change my mind and that it's going to surprise me and that I'm going to, take detours. And that's, I guess, why you do it. Because if you knew exactly what you're going to make, then why bother making it, really? It's
Yeah,
got to surprise
exactly.
you and make you want to do all the work, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And your work does seem to be sort of capturing places. Is that how you think of your work?
Um, I definitely think it's things that I value, and maybe want to highlight just all those things that I'm interested in. And depending on what stage of my life, I was interested in different things. Like if I think back at art school, I really loved, Icarus stories of Icarus and all those sorts of things, and how that might connect to ambition in my life, and how other people have felt that way too. And again, with growing things, this last series that I did, I was really interested in that, and I think other people are too.
Yeah.
So often my work are conversation pieces, like people, whenever I maybe sell an artwork, always tell people want to know the story about how I made the artwork and the story of the artwork, and they all come with their own stories. And so then funnily, years later, these people, when I go to their house, maybe they tell me the story of the artwork, and I can tell because it's a ridiculous story or something. That it's something that I've said, And so
I love that.
meanwhile, back at the ranch, they've been telling every guest they've had to the house for the last 20 years the story. So they're like the
Which
keep the
is kind
stories
of
for
cool.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a nice thing that you because you have that connection with your buyer, that you
Yeah.
can tell your stories and pass them on so that they have, another appreciation of the work.
Yeah. There's
Mm.
that real connection, and people tend to and I really appreciate the support of people continuing to follow my work. It's great.
Yeah, that is so good. So let's just unpack the way that, well, the way that your paintings look, I guess, your relief paintings. What are you thinking about with color?
Yeah, it's funny. People say that I'm a colorist, and but I don't really think about color. It just happens. It's just the color it should be to me.
Yes, I
But
did read in your Instagram that you did that beautiful field painting,
Mm,
and you were commenting on how somebody who'd come into your studio had said, well, that's not the actual colors that you see in
yeah,
nature. So
yes.
so how did you feel about that kind of comment?
Well, I think that sort of works well with what I just said, because it's the colors that I see, you know, just that I think it should be this. And so that's what it is. And that's a wonderful thing about painting, is you can make it whatever you like, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. I love color. And what color does when you sort of put two colors together, but your
Mm.
works do feel, a lot of them are very colorful.
Oh, for sure. I love color. I just love it. And it can create such a mood. And so generally the series, I will think about the kinds of colors that I want to use. For example, in this new series, Woman at Work, I decided that I would use primary colors as like the key that will hold it together, because they're very strong, and I think these women are very strong, so I wanted the colors to be strong. So often, the colors are not just colors, they kind of help to I guess tell the story.
Yeah, yeah. So onto that amazing exhibition that you're working towards, Women at Work, and you are showing this at your gallery studio in Clevedon. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about that series and how it was formed in the beginning?
Okay, well, this is probably the most terrifying thing I've ever done. It's really like it's very scary. I mean, it's already probably the most scary thing you can do, to do portraits, let alone do portraits of these woman artists that I admire. How did I get to this idea? I think it was through frustration. I was feeling a little bit frustrated, and I was thinking, is this because I'm a woman artist? Is this how do other woman artists feel? You know, and I had always modeled myself when I was, I guess building, you could say, a brand or whatever, men, because they're so good at putting themselves out there and risk taking, and putting themselves forward. So, but I was coming across things that I didn't know, and I thought the only people that can answer these questions are woman artists. And I had actively avoided woman artists because the woman artists that I admired, I was terrified of them. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to have to talk to them, you know,
Why do you
and
say you were terrified of them?
I was terrified of them because I thought, like, so I could name a few. Some of the biggest portraits I made this show as Judy Millar, Jacqueline Fahey, and Fiona Clark. And all of them, I think the word that comes to mind that brings them together, they're also brave, and they, uh, are so passionate about their art. They're purists. They make art for art's sake, and all this sort of stuff. And I found that, I could make. I was thought, well, could I? I don't think I could do this. I don't think I could be like them. You know,
Did you feel
but
intimidated by them?
I felt intimidated by them. Yeah. I probably still do feel intimidated by them, but I thought I need to get over it. And I'd been to visit Judy Millar in her studio, and I was sitting there chatting with her and my friend Blythe Tate, and I had this moment which I've had before, and it was, you need to paint her portrait. And And I was like, oh no, now I'm going to have to ask her if I can paint her portrait. And so I wrote a script actually, and I rang her up, and I was so nervous. I said, I hope you don't mind if I read from my script. And so I read from my script, and surprisingly, she said that I could paint her portrait. And I had this idea of interviewing her. It had already expanded in my mind to be about interviewing these leading women New Zealand artists that I admire subjectively, and interviewing them and learning from them, and painting their portrait, and in a celebration of them and their leadership and that sort of thing. So, and then I realized that my great aunt, I call her my great aunt, because I am related to Fiona Clark. I'd been to visit her a few years ago, and it was just after COVID, and she was taking me for a tour around her dairy factory. And at one stage, because she had a mask on, at one stage she said, would you like to take my photo? And I said, yes, I would. And it was when she was outside of her fridge. It was her dark room, and it was in her fridge, and it had all her film and paper in it. And so I took this portrait of her. And so when I started the series, I already knew I had the photo. I had the photo that I wanted to use of her, and I had to ring her up and have a chat and see if I could get her permission to use that photo. And then I interviewed her, and it was great. It's just so great. So the whole thing has been super exciting from a learning point of view.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And you think of those women artists as brave, but you are being incredibly brave yourself by taking on a project
or
like
stupid, I don't know.
No, it's amazing. Wow. And
Well, I'm trying my hardest. That's what I say to them. I don't know how it's going to go, but I am going to try my hardest.
yeah. And did you feel intimidated in the fact that, they were trusting you to capture something of them that they were happy with? And also the fact that, are they going to like what I
Yeah,
make? And am I
all
good
of them.
am I good enough? Is my work
All of
good
that.
enough?
I sent them pictures of the paintings when I'd finished, and these are massive paintings. They are monumental, and I was totally terrified. I was just waiting by my email or whatever to see what they would say, because ultimately you do want them to think, that this is okay, whatever,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's hard to look at yourself too, and I'm really inspired by Alice Neal's work. She's an American portrait painter. She was, and she talks about that idea of her work collecting souls. And I don't just want to paint something that just looks like a photograph of something or something like that. I want the work. When I'm interviewing these people, I'm not recording it, because I want these people to be really honest with me, and the experience I have with them will inform the artwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the artwork is a very personal sort of outcome from the experience of spending time with the person and learning from that person, and from them sharing with me things, and so that's hopefully comes across in the artwork.
I love that. Can you just talk us very quickly through your process for the relief paintings?
Okay, well, it's a long. How long have you got? It's quite a big process, but okay. So, for example, I had to contact the artist, and I've say painting Judy Millar, and go and do the interview, which informs, learning about the person. That is really important, and then taking a photo of them working in their studio. Again, lots and lots of photos to get one that I think feels authentic. And often it's when maybe they let their guard down, or whatever. But there's a moment, and hopefully I take a photo in it, and then I come back to the studio and I actually draw the photograph onto the board. And this time I'm using blue paint because I'm inspired by Alice Neal, and Alice Neal famously puts blue edges, if you know her paintings. She has these strong blue marks. So that is in homage to her. I thought start well. And then I carve the whole surface of the wood, and then I seal it and paint it. I paint it in kind of blocks of color, I guess, and then magically I roll it and it picks up on the relief. And it's kind of like when you go into a dark room, I don't know whether you learned how to do black and white developing paper and stuff, and you watch the image come up in front of you and it's magic. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. It's absolutely magic because out of nowhere, it's like invisible and like there's nothing there. And then all of a sudden there's an image back again, you know?
Ah, I love that.
So, so it's really magical process. It kind of has that magic that printmaking has, you know, where there's a lot of magic, you know. And so for me, that's really exciting. And so I use roll-on paint, but I'm not just simply like rolling on one color. I'm rolling on lots of different colors, you know, and then I'm painting and doing washes and glazing and stuff like that, like you would when you're a painter. So I'm mixing printmaking and painting together. But the image is the right way round. The image is never printed. This is a one-off painting, you know, and like I say, it takes a ridiculous amount of time to make, but that's why they're expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they deserve to be expensive. And are you working on MDF?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not too hard for me to carve.
Yeah.
You know?
And what tools are you using? Is it just your standard woodcut
Yeah. So,
tool?
but it's really fun to do that, and it has. I like the fact that it feels like it's made by a human being, and I think that's really interesting now with AI and everything like that. I think that we naturally draw to the tactility, like it's really tactile, you know, and it looks like it's made by a human being, which I like.
And you can really see the marks that you have made with your hands.
Yeah. And if you stuff it up, it's really funny because people say, well, what do you do if you make a mistake? And I'm saying, well, you don't. Because you just don't make a mistake. And if you do, then you have to carve it out so it looks like it's not a mistake, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So basically don't make a mistake. It's kind of like high risk art making.
Yeah.
Which makes it quite fun.
High risk with lots of gain, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. And that's what I love about printmaking is that sometimes there are little mistakes or, you know, things that happen that you didn't expect that can be magical.
That's it. It's allowing chance to play because especially with the carving, you know, it's very intuitive. What do I carve out? What do I not? It takes on it moves really quickly from being a photograph to a drawing to a carving to a painting to a print, so it keeps evolving.
Yeah, lovely. It's a beautiful process and it is quite unique. And do you find that it's quite physical?
Yeah, it's very physical. But I don't mind hard work. No problem, you know? No. I quite like that actually. And it's cool when you feel like you're getting somewhere, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it just makes it more exciting at the end, you know? And you'd sit back and you go, well, can't believe I did that. That was pretty hardcore, you know?
Yeah. And you do often work quite big too. So they must be really.
Yeah, I tend to love big, you know? Small is good too. I try to do a range. And lately, like the last show I did, I tried to make the smallest works like little masterpieces because I do love working big. So I run the risk of like trying harder with the big works. So I try to make sure that, you know, the little works were just as great, you know, which is harder with a smaller work because it has visually takes up less space, less impact, you know. So you have to work hard to get it looking good.
And do you frame your works or just keep the MDF as a solid?
No, I just Frames by Daniel makes the box boards, so I'm using those. Yeah, he's great.
Cool. And I feel like this is a really important series. You know, it's a really important thing to capture. It's kind of documenting our sort of, you know, women in art or New Zealand social history, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Like I'm doing this, in my opinion, I thought it would be good to talk about the work as I'm making it and sharing the experience openly and even saying that I'm a bit scared. I mean, that's not very common. People say that, you know, but other artists have been very supportive. And if some of them have said that, you know, that I'm sort of speaking on their behalf or whatever, I've made, which is nice, and I guess I'm just opening up conversations about, what is it like for women artists, how well represented are they, you know, um, you know, where is feminism now, how well do we help each other as women, how is knowledge passed over, all these things, I think they're really interesting things.
Yeah, it almost feels like sort of an extension of your study that you're actually learning yourself and then sort of expressing things through your art. It feels
Yeah.
like it's quite a sort of it's almost like a form of a thesis.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think like we'll stick back to the diary, it's like a diary entry, really.
Yeah, I love that.
I'd write a terrible thesis. Someone said to me, "Are you going to do your doctorate?" And my wife said, "No, she doesn't write very well," or something like this.
Oh, but you could actually this could form a part of an extended study, maybe a book or something like that. You
Yeah.
could,
Yeah. I
yeah,
definitely think it's a lot of legs. This is the problem with just being one person, just me. And I want to focus on the work and making the work and making the best work I can make. So there's often things that I don't do. And I just focus at the moment on the painting.
yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
You can't do everything. So that
No.
Woman at Work series, yeah, I feel like, as you say, is got a lot of weight, and it feels it feels like it's celebrating, Aotearoa women artists, which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Mm.
But also, it's interesting to me that you haven't called it, you haven't sort of referenced the fact that they're artists. It's Women at Work is the title of that
Yeah.
series or of the show.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
thinking there?
Well, I was actually deeply inspired as a kid, a young kid. I think it's Glenn Bush's Working Men. It's a photographic series, and I don't know whether you're familiar with it, but if you're not, it's absolutely incredible. I remember seeing that as a young person and just thinking this is incredible work. And so it's portraiture of men in their work environments, and it's incredibly moving and very raw, very human. And I thought, well, I think I just read Katie Hessel's, A History of Art Without Men. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to, do a series about women at work? And it kind of plays into the idea of, what should women be doing with their time?
Mm. We all should be doing more of that, making art. And how did you actually select the people? And are you allowed to say which other artists you have
Yeah, sure.
focused
Yeah.
on?
I mean, it's probably the smallest series I've done for probably ever, um, because the work has taken so long to make. Um, I have asked some artists and they have said no, but I've been surprised by majority that I've asked have said yes. And I totally understand if you're saying no, they might be shy or too busy or whatever, too famous. It's loads of reasons. But Judy Millar, and like I say, Fiona Clark and Jacqueline Fahey was just an absolute amazing. I was so excited to meet her and chat with her. And so those are the big paintings. And then I've also painted my mentor, Linda Tyler, and my daughter as well. And those works are about that transference of knowledge from the now to the future, and woman, older women sharing with younger people, and carrying on.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to paint Hannah Island and Petra Larkin as well. So, like I say, that's the smallest show ever, isn't it? But hopefully, it'll be worth looking at.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. And I do feel like we said it feels like it's part one of an
Yeah.
ongoing series,
We've
which
got
would
to get
be,
through part one first. I haven't even
yeah.
finished yet.
And how do you feel like audience respond to portraits of people?
I don't even know. I do these crazy ideas and I have no idea of the outcome. Like when I painted community halls, I just painted community halls because I was interested in how we work together as a community, and what we value, and that sort of thing, in the shared spaces. But I had no idea that other people would like looking at community halls, you
Mm.
know?
I
So
think they can relate to
no,
them, can't
yeah,
they?
you don't know, eh?
No, you never
But
know.
I can't sort of stop to think about that. I've just got to do what I feel is right. And I feel like this series feels very right. It's the right thing to do to celebrate these people in their lifetime.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and such an interesting project for you to get your teeth into,
Yeah. Yeah.
academically and creatively, really.
Oh, yeah. I don't really think of it as academic. I just think of it as continuing to learn. But I suppose you could, I don't know whether paintings in themselves are academic. Maybe they are.
Mm. I just feel like because you're doing quite a lot of research and interviewing and photographing, and you're sort of bringing quite a lot of thought, I guess, critical thought to it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then you're making the work. Yeah,
I do this for all my series.
yeah, that's the way you work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you feel like that's come from your time at Elam? That's helped you with that?
I think probably it wouldn't have done any harm. Yeah. And I think when you learn, I'm one of those people, if you give me a textbook, I'll read the whole thing and then I'll tell you, it was on page 44. Like quite weird like that. I quite like to know things, like to learn things, you know?
Mm.
So it's just my way of understanding the world, I guess, again, talking with people, reading some stuff, processing it and making artwork.
Yeah. And then that feels like that sort of ties in so beautifully with the way you're living your life as an artist, with the teaching and the mentoring, and then talking about the work to people who come into your gallery. It just
Mm.
feels like you're in a position now where all of those things that you think of as important are coming
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I feel lucky, but I guess I've created it. I think one of my friends said, you got to design the life that you want, otherwise someone else will design it for you. So, um, yeah, I think it's really nice. It feels authentic.
Mm.
And I do like spending time with people. I just have to also make time to make art too,
Yeah.
and to recharge a little bit as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I totally get that. Yeah. Back to the talking about my opinion. I really love those little videos that you do on Instagram where you've obviously noticed something or something's occurred to you or something like that has happened in a sort of again authentic way for you in your life, and then you share it and you talk about something. How has that
Mm.
developed, and how do you see that as sort of fitting with the other things that you do?
It's just a little project, that I thought it would be quite, because last year I talked about each work after I'd done it, and I thought it would be quite cool to talk about the work as I'm making it. And usually I hadn't been doing that because it can be a bit stunting. You don't really want to show the work until it's done. But I always like to keep making it harder for myself for some reason. So I thought, why not be honest and just show the process a bit more, you know? And then why don't I just talk about what I'm thinking about? And so those are actually just things that I'm thinking about. My mind is always busy with thoughts. And so I just pull out a little bit of things that I'm thinking about that at that point, and just share those things. And sometimes I think, oh, I don't know, I don't know if I should share this because I'm speaking, I guess, very rawly, very off the cuff. It's not really edited. It's just what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and you're showing some sort of vulnerability in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
which I think is very good for especially other artists to see. I think it's reality. It's your reality, and it's the reality of so many other people, no doubt.
yeah. Well, I think that's part of the thing. One of the things I've learned from doing the series about woman artists so far is that they are humans and they have feelings as well, and everybody, um, you know, has to keep going, and it's okay to be a bit vulnerable, I think,
Mm, yeah,
and
totally.
to make that all right.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like doing the podcast, because you are hearing real stories from real people. And
Mm-hmm.
if that can help somebody or encourage somebody in some way, then that's a good thing.
Yeah. exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, like I'm putting it on Instagram, and Instagram is so glossy, and I think my content should be a little bit raw, like and honest, like my paintings.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And why do you feel like you're doing it? I mean, are you thinking about it from a marketing perspective, or is it more that you feel like you need to express something to go with your work, or
Yeah.
where did it actually come from?
Oh, I just have so many things to say. So I thought maybe some of it might be useful to other people, or
Yeah.
like it might start conversations, or
Mm.
I think the series is a really big one. I only imagine doing this in my opinion while the series is happening. I haven't thought about doing it beyond that.
I think
I
you should
just
keep going with it.
uh, it's quite, as it's quite a lot, even to get yourself into the mindset of sharing things or talking is quite a lot. But yeah, maybe. But I've said that I'll do it once a week. It seems quite a lot, you know?
Yeah. Well, what I've learned is not to actually make promises about when you're going to
Oh,
publish
yeah, I
something.
shouldn't have done that. I think once a week is too much. Maybe like
Yeah.
once a year, say something interesting or just,
Or just when you feel like it, I
yeah,
think
just when
that's a
I feel
good
like it.
thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's it. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
guess, in my opinion, it's kind of a disclaimer because, it's what I'm thinking at the time, but I might change my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to that Women at Work series, can you tell us about how they're going to look?
Okay. Well, I went to the Modern Woman show at the Auckland Art Gallery, and I saw like the history of woman artists painting. And I thought that was really pretty cool. But to be honest, I sort of took it as a physical challenge. I wanted to make mine much more monumental and proud and, loud and take up space, you know? And so I imagine it's going to be, they're loud, and powerful works, I think.
From
So that's what,
a scale point of view or color?
well, if you mix scale, power, and powerful woman, strong woman together, you're going to have quite an impact, I would say, you
Yeah.
know. But I haven't seen them on the wall. I've just been hiding them away and carry on. I don't look at them. I just don't dwell. Just keep going. You know,
Mm.
it's,
Well, I
it
can't
sort of
wait.
helps my motivation to get on and keep going.
Yeah. I can't wait to
Mm.
see them. So when
Yeah.
does the show actually open?
So the show opens on the 17th of October, and it's like the smallest show ever. Like I'll have an opening night on the 17th of October, 5 to 8 here in my gallery studio in Clevedon, and then it'll just be open for that weekend. I think it's the 18th and 19th of October from 10 till 4 both days. So you can pop out in the daytime if you wanted
Mm.
to do that. And for me, short and sweet is good, because it is just me and it's a lot of energy and a lot of people and all that stuff.
Yeah. And then where to from there? I imagine you've sort of putting your heart and soul into this series. What's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
plan after that with your work?
Well, I do have an idea brewing, um, but I want to just put all my energy into this project. I like to have shows in about October because then I have some time to start another project before the new year. It makes me feel good, sort of having conceptually some idea of where I'm going the next year.
Mm.
But it's just in its infancy, and I'm definitely not ready to share that.
No, fair enough. Are you thinking about, you know, talking to other female or women artists and
Mm,
continuing on with the series?
mm. Well, I think like it's like with the community hall series. I mean, I could probably spend the rest of my life painting community halls, and it would be awesome. Um, I could definitely spend the rest of my life painting woman artists. Um,
Mm.
I don't know that I will, but I might revisit it. You know, I sort of do something and then I feel like I've resolved it in my own way for me, and then I move on to something else. And so I don't have the same subject matter all the time. I'm always changing that. And that keeps me learning, keeps me changing, keeps me interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be the person that wakes up and does a similar sort of thing the next day.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I love the way you think of your practices. You use the medium that you feel is the right fit for what you're thinking,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
which is
I've really
great.
enjoyed, for example, making the bronze sculptures using the relief technique of carving, but then sand casting and in bronze is really exciting, and learning how to work with that and things. So keeping on pushing and coming up and doing things that I don't expect is really exciting.
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, I think that's the best way to work personally. But then you can still see your style, as we were saying earlier, your style even through the sculpture and the
Mm-hmm.
painting. I think it's got a real sense of line, which I guess comes from the printmaking medium.
Yeah, it is quite graphic, hey, and the new work, um, it is graphic, and I do love, like I'm just looking right now, the history of posters. I love that book that I have, and so I definitely draw on things like from different places, and I do love the graphic line.
Mm. Now you talk about, your ideas and your thoughts that you have a lot is a big part of your practice. Do you actually allow yourself experimental time?
No, this is making me laugh because there's someone I mentor. They he came in and said I'm experimenting, and I said no, you can't use that word. I don't like it.
Really?
I don't know why I don't like that word, but I think it's because everything I do is with purpose. You know, so my wife sometimes says, "Oh, you're going on another tangent," but I don't see it as a tangent. I see it as like it's very very important. So yes, I definitely try things out and test things, but all of it seems to me very important,
Yeah,
you know?
and purposeful.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think experimenting can be important.
I
It
think
depends
so too.
on
I
how you
probably
look
took it
at
the
it.
wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying that you
Yeah.
have intent. It has intent.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be completely trivial. I could be drawing on a napkin or I could be making something out of cardboard. But what I'm saying is that it's to me it's important.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think that experimenting word is isn't trivial,
Yeah.
you know.
No.
And that part of process isn't trivial. It's still important work for
No,
sure.
so important because that's how we keep doing different things and how we break ground and, try new things.
Yeah, and sort of step out of your comfort zone and yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel unmotivated or stuck or disheartened in some way? And if you do, how do you get through those periods?
Oh, definitely, especially in winter. I really like you can see you can see the draft, can't you? You can see
Yeah,
the air.
yeah,
So it gets very cold in here. This was built as a packing shed to keep fruit cold, so it keeps me cold through winter as well. So we have a summer pair of overalls and a winter pair of overalls, and I do my best to keep myself warm, but that doesn't always work. So just the physicality of being in here in winter takes a fair bit of grit. And so, but that's how do I do that? I just, keep having my goals of things I'm trying to achieve. I have lots of people coming into the studio all the time, and whether I'm with teaching or whatever. So that's good. You just got to keep going, really, don't you?
yeah,
Like I say, it's not always glamorous. I mean, it looks very glamorous here on a summer's day, but there are another 3 seasons.
yeah, exactly. And apart from the cold of your studio in winter, what do you struggle with in your practice that people might not expect?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm pretty open with my struggles. Like I was saying, that's why that was a catalyst for starting this new series, Women at Work. Is I think if you're struggling, it's good to ask for help. And the older I get, the more I realize that if you ask good questions, then people generally give you good answers. I try not to dwell. I'm really a pretty optimistic person, I think.
And I think you obviously push yourself out of your comfort zone and do things like this series. It's a little bit scary for you, even just sort of waiting for people's responses and then having to show them the work is
Yeah.
it could be quite confronting. I think you are very brave.
Well, it is terrifying, but maybe I'm just a scaredy cat.
No, I think everybody would find that quite scary. It is quite confronting potentially. Yeah. And
Yeah.
how did you find like your confidence? Like for example, when one of the artists said no, thank you. Do you are you hard on yourself, or do you sort of take that on as, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or do you have that sort of imposter
No,
syndrome?
I guess I've developed a pretty strong sense of self with a healthy ego. And so I have a pretty thick skin. And so it doesn't, I just sort of shake it off, as long as I've asked and, the best that I can and do the best that I can, that's all I can do.
And do you think
Yeah.
that's something that has come with age, or have you always been like that?
Or I think it's probably developing with age, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always had I guess a healthy sense of self and belief in that I can do something of value. Yeah.
Which is so
Yeah.
great. And you seem to be wearing quite a lot of hats and juggling quite a bit alongside your practice. What does a usual week look like for you with all the things that you're involved with?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, um, well, obviously, even just getting the kids to school and things, that's something.
How old are your
And then
kids?
10 and 16.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
And so, um, I walk the dog when I get to the studio, and that's a nice thing to do. The dog likes it, and I like it. Clears my mind, And then I come into the studio, and I have a diary, like a manual diary that I write everything in, right? But I have set things that I do every day of the week. So I might have teaching obligations, or I have mentoring, or I'm actually doing some relief teaching at the moment down the road. That's something new that I've done. That's been nice over winter as well because they've got heat pumps. It's great. Um, no, the people are nice too. But so yeah, and then there'll be some days that I just spend the whole day in the studio. You know. But then there's also a lot of admin to do. Teaching classes and things like that. There's a lot of things, and people quite often say, "How do you do everything you do?" And I think I made a thing about it the other day, saying I often do things that I don't want to do
Yeah.
because it all has to get done, you know.
Yeah.
And I just make sure that I give time for making art. When I first came to the country and I had a little baby, and I was thinking, how am I going to set up a routine? I decided to make the creative habit of making 40 minutes of artwork a day, spending 40 minutes every day. And that is a really cool thing if people are starting out. It's a really cool way of just getting into the habit of always making. And
Yeah.
so I don't just make art when I feel like it. I go to work and I make art because that's what I do, you know. So I will have some days where I'm just drudging along, dragging myself through the studio, and other days when I'm skipping and everything that I touch turns to gold. But you've got to be, for me anyway, I've got to be in there all the time to have those moments, that are good. But also one foot in front of the other, eventually you get somewhere, you know?
Yeah. It's so
Mm,
important. And that kind of
mm,
routine of making every day
mm,
seems
mm-hmm,
important, which is something I'm learning to do while I'm here in Turkey, and it feels
mm-hmm.
so good. And I just can't believe how quickly the day goes, actually. I'm so into it that,
Yeah.
I'll be making for 5 hours straight without really noticing. Yeah.
And I would love to make every day, but if I'm honest, I don't make every day because I've got lots of things to do, lots of other things to do as well. But interestingly for me, it actually builds up a need, and I have to make the work. I'll always find time to make the work. You know what I mean? Like it
Mm.
becomes like I get quite angsty if I don't make work.
Yeah.
So I always come back to it. But most days I'm making something, doing something.
And I love the way all the different components of what you do all sort of, complement each other so well and kind of connect beautifully. Do you find that you get inspiration or you learn things from your teaching and mentoring?
All the time, all the time. Well, that's because my work is about the human experience. I'm spending time with humans that are inspiring my work. the whole time,
That's so true. Even with your audience, who are
Yeah.
coming to see your work, that's another element of that.
Yeah. And little things that people will say stick in my mind, like basically forever, and so and that will sort of kick off or link with something else, and maybe be a new idea.
And that's great as an artist to have that in a way, that sort of outer influence instead of getting into your own head completely.
I think it's important for me anyway. It helps. I think I might be, because I am a real people person. So I think actually I did notice it in COVID. I missed the people. I was surprised because I thought I was going to love having no one around. But I actually missed the people so much so that I actually made a little free drawing thing where you could draw along with me. And people still stop me and say, I love doing that with you, because it was such a lonely time, wasn't it? And people just liked hanging out, even if it was in virtual space.
Yeah, that's a lovely idea. And it's very much a part of you. Can you ever imagine not having those elements in your practice, sort of alongside your practice?
I would love, I would almost love the idea of me being, able to just spend the whole time in the studio by myself and focus entirely on my work. I mean, maybe that's something I will grow into. But at the same time, we're going to have a problem because I am a people person, right, as well. So but I definitely, I can't spend, I'm like a bit of a racehorse. I like to spend time with people and then that's it. And then, do the art and then, relax, lie down,
Yeah. I wonder if you could just do it at some point. You could get to that stage where you have your gallery open maybe in the morning and have that sort of people interaction through people coming in, and then have your practice and just have those two elements.
Yeah, I mean, it's always evolving. I try to do what is working, keep doing those things, and discard things that are not, and discard the things that are not a valuable use of my time, because I think time is a huge thing. We only have so much of it, but I definitely, safeguard, and if not, want to spend more time making art and trying to make great art. That's still got to be the focus, because for me, I could teach every day of the week and then I wouldn't make any artwork.
Yeah, your practice would suffer. Yeah. Oh, well, I think your work is incredible, and people hopefully can have a look at your Instagram page or your blog posts on my website. All right, let's just get on to the questions. What would you say to your younger artistic self?
I'd probably say try harder. I think you think you're trying your hardest, but are you really? Maybe you could try harder.
Really?
Yeah. And
Why
I think that I do that all the time now, and I think it stretches you to really, really dig deep and actually try your hardest. And when you're younger, you think it's not very cool to try your hardest. Well, I thought, I was meant to make everything look easy, and but now I think it's pretty cool to be trying your hardest.
And pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, do you think? Is that part of it?
Always. Well, we learn about that when you're a teacher, right? Live in the learning pit and being in a growth mindset and all that sort of stuff, absolutely. And it actually is really exciting. And the more you do it, the more you can do. It's sort of like, and you actually do get better as well at whatever you're trying to do. I'm not very good at it. I don't naturally like change. So I'm a very scared but very ambitious person, Really? So it's really hard, very risk adverse, but I have to take I have to take a lot of risks, and I like taking lots of risks, but I'm fully aware of the risk, I don't let it stop me from taking the risks. I did a whole series around doubt, and, I asked myself, am I in physical danger? Is this real, or can I do this? Because a lot of it is in our head.
What's the most challenging aspect of being an artist and living your life?
I mean, it's well known. It's not a get rich scheme, isn't it? That's a thing. But I love being an artist. I think it's wonderful, so even though it might be a bit difficult, maybe not an easy path, I think it's really rewarding, and I think, I do hope to make a valuable contribution through my art, and that's sort of what my motto, I guess, or what I try to do, and keep working at that. How can art make an impact and be valued and be important in society? It always has been, and it always should be, and we can, play a part in that.
And just another little random question. Your father, and I think you've been very involved with it as well, has a sculpture park out at
Yes.
Clevedon, which is amazing.
Yes. This studio is part of Riverhaven Artland. And when we came to the countryside, I remember on one of Christmas days, Dad said, to us three girls and everyone around, I want to start a sculpture park. And we were like, terrible idea. Don't do it. What are we thinking here?
Really?
And then he's like me. He's just, like a dog with a bone. He's like, no, this is happening. This is happening. So here we go. He's got a sculpture park. And so I sort of helped him a little bit curating and working with artists, and and he's got a permanent collection of a beautiful permanent collection of, I think it's over 20 pieces now, and they're all site specific, and it's been wonderful. I've got to meet these artists, and obviously it wasn't long before I became interested in making sculpture through meeting these people and getting curious. But it's well worth visiting. You can look up the website riverhavenartland.com.
How amazing. So that's on his property, his farm?
Yeah, it's 40 acres. It's really very incredible. It's kind of ridiculously beautiful. It's like paradise. And 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, when Mum died, he was very sad, and he started planting trees. And it became, we were all doing our life, he kept digging holes and filling them up with trees. And, then he pretty much has a park, or it could be an arboretum. And then after that, he was like, well, I would like to make a sculpture park. So but all the beautiful trees had already developed. So the setting is gorgeous,
That sounds amazing. Well, I'm definitely going to be doing a trip out to Clevedon.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's very creative. I come from a creative family. My mum was a hairdresser. Dad was an orchardist, but has always been creative. And also, he, came along the journey with me when I was going to art school. I remember the first times that he saw sculpture, he was in the Mondrian building. He was like, what is this? It's this contemporary sculpture. And then he just, kept coming to the exhibitions and all this stuff, and learned along the way. And who would have thought that he would now have a sculpture collection, but that's pretty neat.
So he owns the pieces, and he's sharing with the public.
Yeah, he has open days, and he does works with charities and things like that. Yeah, and I've stepped back a bit now, trying to focus a bit more on my artwork, and my sister Sophie's helping with that. Yeah,
well, that's such a beautiful thing. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we talked about that, and that's something that people can check out as well. Just finally, who are the artists? I mean, obviously, the woman that you have approached for your latest series inspire you, but what other artists are inspiring for you?
Yeah, well, definitely the woman that I'm studying, that's like in my current mind. And often when I'm doing a series, I might fixate on an artist that can help influence and guide me as well. And this time it's Alice Neal. So I really love her work and the honesty of that. And interestingly, she didn't become famous in her lifetime, and she's now regarded as the greatest thing ever. But do you think that's interesting to add to the story of the woman at work as well? It goes along with it. And she was a purist that just needed to make work and made it because she thought it was the right thing to do. So that's cool. She's very inspirational. And Richard Lua, I really like his work. Always have. I went into an art gallery when I was younger, and I was just at university. I just started, and I fell in love with a Richard Lua when I walked into the gallery. And I could have bought it, and I was really like, how much? Like, it was a few $1,000s, and I had that money, and I was like, but where would I put it? It's huge, stupid things like that. Like, what do I need with this big green painting? And it's like one of the only regrets of my life, not buying the Richard Lua. his work is good. I love the honesty and the humor, and when in the podcast I was listening to, he talks about it as therapy. I just think it's very relatable and down to earth and very honest, and I really like his work. And then one of my students was just sending me a picture the other day. One of my favorite all time would be Picasso's Guernica. I think I've always loved Picasso's work, and the aesthetic works for me. And that particular work, I love the human struggle, how he's captured that. So lots of things, but things inspire me all the time, and I'm always finding new things and new artists that are interesting, and keep on learning.
Yeah, it's so good, isn't it, looking into artists' work? And I just, find it very inspiring, but also sometimes affirming. And, I think you've really covered it, but what would you say being an artist has taught you about life?
Well, I think I was, are you born an artist? I feel like I was. So I don't really think I know any different. It's just the way that I process the world.
Yeah, I really feel like that. Yeah. Well, Katie, it's been an absolute joy talking to you and meeting you, and I can't wait to see you and meet you in person and see your gorgeous space and see
I would love that.
Your latest work. Yeah. So
you should come for a cup of tea. I would love that.
I would love that too. Cup of tea sounds great. In fact, I'm missing New Zealand tea at the moment. I do like the Turkish chai, but nothing like a good old, English breakfast with milk.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This has been lovely.
Oh, thank you, Katie. My pleasure.